In a world that is male-dominated, most of the times women struggle to get a seat at the table. This is why the Citizen Rising Woman is bringing to you the very second edition in 2022 with the aim to empower and to bring out women that are inspiring in our society. My name is Latricia Panda, and today I'm not alone. I'm with a phenomenal woman in the media industry, Mrs. Eda Sanga. Welcome.
Phenomenal indeed.
Yeah, you are phenomenal, especially in the media industry. You're someone that is very notable, especially when we speak about women that have been in the industry and who have come really far and made revolutions in the industry. So can you give us your personal story? How did you start in the media industry? Were you passionate about it?
Very much so. Maybe if I was not passionate about it, I wouldn't have joined the media. Yeah. By then, of course, it was radio. We didn't have television. But my first passion, I must be very honest, was music. I like music. So I said, why don't I follow where there is plenty of music? At that time, it was radio. Radio Tanzania, Dar es Salaam. But also, we could get or could access Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. It was called KBC, I think.
KBC.
Yeah, at that time. So we were listening to Kenya, but we were also listening to Radio Tanzania. And what inspired me, or what I best liked, were the professional broadcasters that were given training in BBC. Yeah. They had lovely voices, you know, men as well as women. And I said, this is the kind of career that I would love to pursue. Yeah. So that is how I joined radio. If that is passion, then that was passion. But really, what made me get into radio was music.
Well, we should thank music for that. Yes. Because I believe after you started doing your media works, you're quite phenomenal. So you're the first female anchor in Tanzania.
Not really. I found the other women there.
What were they doing in the radio? Were they anchoring?
They were, but you must realize that by then we were only a few days or weeks after independence.
Yeah.
So a lot of the information or a lot of programs that were broadcast were entertainment programs. Yeah. So it is women who featured there, and a lot of the programs had to do with the children, yeah, women. And women and children's programs were mainly undertaken by women.
Okay.
It is only after we joined, maybe after 4 or 5 years, that now we were also accessing other programs like interviewing and things like that. But to begin with, it was mostly entertainment. And there was a reason. Yeah. The director, who was then, I think it was Paul Sozigwa, the late, categorically said that women's voices are melodious, you know?
Yeah.
You listen to a woman's voice and it can even make you sleep. So he said that he wouldn't wish that women, for instance, do news.
Yeah.
He didn't want women in the news. He wanted women more for entertainment and other light programs, like I said, for children and women. Yeah. So this is what I found, and I learned through, you know, those that were already there. Yeah. I must admit here that Radio Tanzania had a very nice way of recruiting. They recruit you. You go through a rigorous interview, both written and practical, and then they determine where exactly you fit. Okay. So I was half-half. I was here and there, but as I said, because I liked music, so I spent a lot of time doing musical programs. Yeah. Until later, when I learned, you know, when I went with other people who were keen to do interviews and what have you. You know, as you go along with those people, you tend to also like what they are doing, and this is what, you know, kept me going.
During that critical moment, you know, it's just after independence, we are having our media, we have our people, you know, giving out information. How was it like for women in the newsroom? How many were you?
Very few.
Very few.
Very few. And we knew we were few until 1975, when the United Nations proclaimed Women's Year. If you remember, 1975, I don't know whether you were born. So after that, that meeting in Mexico, there was a follow-up meeting in Copenhagen, Denmark, in 1980, and then another meeting in 1985 in Nairobi. Yeah. So that's where some of us went. In that meeting, we met other women from all over the world, mostly from Europe and America. Yeah. And it was very interesting to find out that actually what women experienced in the developed world was a bit different from our world. Whereas we talked a lot about fetching firewood, going long distances for firewood, tending for the sick, and you know, looking after kids, and you know, the household, whatever. They were talking about wife battery and women, what should I say? They had everything, like time-saving devices, but they were not very happy in their marriages. They had problems in their marriages. So when we came back, we thought we learned something from them. So we came back, and as journalists, we came together, we discussed, those of us who went there, we told our colleagues who didn't go what we thought about, you know, our colleagues from the developed world, about wife battery, and we asked ourselves, could it be that this is also a problem here? It's only that we do not talk about it. Yeah. So, you know, thereafter, actually in 1987, you remember the meeting in Nairobi was 1985, 1987, we started what is known today as the Tanzania Media Women Association. And I'm one of those, you know, founders. Yes, I'm one of the founders with another 10 women who are in the media, both electronic and print. Yeah. So we discussed these issues, and we made research with the help of some women from the University of Dar es Salaam who are doing a lot of research on various issues, but we asked them to do this so that we collaborate. Yeah. They agreed, and we came up with a program that we thought could go into radio for other people to know that in fact, whereas we think that it is all roses in our houses, maybe it is not, yeah, based on what we found out. Unfortunately, because the majority of us didn't have powers to say this program should go, this should not go, the men who were, you know, the leaders. Yes, who were in the leadership said we cannot air such a program because Tanzanians are not ready to hear what goes on behind four walls. Yeah? This is something that a man and a woman decide, but this is not something that should go out as, you know, we thought we could do that. But after, you know, they denied us to air that program, which was very well researched, very well put together, then it dawned on us that we needed to do something about ourselves. Yeah. Learn more about the trade, maybe share experiences with other countries, and then look into ways also for us to be in decision-making positions. Yes. So that, you know, we can air anything that we feel, you know, should go on the air. Yeah. And you see, by then, gender was not very much an issue at that time. But, you know, reflecting now, you know, looking at it backwards, I realized that it was time that we realized if we didn't do something then, maybe we wouldn't have had a Tanzania that is today. Because we are the media, and the media broadcasts things to many people at a time. And so by then also many people were reading newspapers. So we had a lot of power to make a difference. We tried, although we met a lot of resistance from the people. Many men thought that we were doing something that was not very Tanzanian, and they were telling us, you know, bluntly, that we were trying to export the culture, an alien culture into Tanzania, because Tanzanians were not ready for such, you know.
But is it true that Tanzanians were not ready for such kind of content by then? By then,
yeah, you know, because we had a very stern, should I say, or very strong mfumo dume.
Yeah, I get you.
So it was not, the women could understand, although yes, majority, the women could understand, although also there were some women who thought we were, what should we say, we were women that were too strong for them, you know. They wanted the changes, but maybe not too fast. Maybe we were too fast. They wanted these things to come slowly, so that they are ready for the changes. But we were trying to force things, you know, the way you know media. When you have media, it's very powerful, and sometimes we met a lot of resistance, and. But we went on because we were very courageous, I must say. Yeah. We had we were together. You know, the founders. I don't know. We had a spirit that was just too strong. Yeah, just too strong. And the good thing is we didn't go there on our own. Most of the time, we made sure we talked to our bosses what we were about, because not only did we institute these changes through programs, but we also started a whole journal for women. We called it Sauti ya City, and in there we did a lot of articles for, you know, for school girls who were finishing maybe 7th grade. These women could read, and then they could tell the stories to their parents, to their aunties, so that way we believed. While we used the radio, we used the normal newspapers, we also had this journal, and we knew that we were making an impact somehow.
Listening to your story, I captured two things. First is the power of men, or even the contribution of men towards gender equality, which is very important, I could say. But I could also say another thing is a unity between, you know, women, amongst women ourselves. How could you talk about, you know, our situation right now in the media when it comes to women? We still have issues. You know, issues like sexual harassment, they are now big things. You know, statistics show that a lot of women are harassed, but they have nowhere to talk about these issues. Where is the unity that us as female people in the media industry are supposed to have? Just like how you were that strong and you had that unity there before, how can you compare the unity? But also, how can you compare the contribution of men by then and now, a men now getting into the conversations and trying to make the change of gender equality?
Of course, during our time, we made a mistake, I must say. First of all, we were fast, as I told you. We wanted the changes to be fast. That was a mistake, because by wanting these changes, we talked more with women than with men. And if you want change, you have to talk to the men. You like it or don't like it, you have to talk to men. So we made that mistake. It is only later on that we realized actually we were not making any impact because we left the men behind. I could say also now there is a problem, and you should see this as news people, that we have talked a lot about the girl child, bringing her to the fore, making sure that she has her rights implemented, she herself knowing who she is, but also having her rights implemented, forgetting the boy child, because now the boy child has been left. Yeah. We have empowered the girl child, we have disempowered the boy child, and this is going to make a problem in future if we do not deal with this problem now. So we made that problem in the past, but we realized somewhere down the line that we needed also to have men with us so that this struggle can make a meaning, and it can make impact, because we were looking for impact, we wanted change. Yeah. So now with you guys at the newsrooms, and I want to tell you that it is not only now that you have sexual harassment in newsroom, it was always there. If it is not your colleagues there, it will be your bosses. We had this problem, and maybe it is a worldwide, but maybe talking about the Tanzanian context, this is a problem that really makes a lot of women not go forward. It is a very big problem, as you said, because it's like you don't have a platform where you can discuss. And you need courage. You need courage, because once you report this, you have to be sure of two things. One, you will win, but also you could also lose. Yeah? So you have to choose which way you go. It needs a lot of courage, but you need to take up courage, because if you don't talk about it, nobody will talk on your behalf. You have to talk, and you have to include these women in the talk. Yeah. They have, I mean the men. You have to include the men in the talk. If you don't include them, if you continue talking amongst yourselves, it doesn't help. But amongst yourselves, you have to have unity. And why unity? Because collaboration always brings a lot of good results. But what is the opposite? The opposite is competition will only break you down. Yeah. So as women, you have to talk about collaboration. You have to, especially where sexual harassment is concerned, if one of you, you know, is being harassed, if all of you can rally support with this person who is being sexually harassed, it pays more than if you isolate her and let it be her own funeral, people would say. Let it be her own funeral. That shouldn't be. You have to collaborate. You have to have this unity, which is based on love and understanding and support. Because if you don't support yourselves, the men will always divide you so that they can rule. Yeah. It has always been there. It is history.
But then, okay, as you said, if we don't really sort out the problem of not talking to men and also leaving the boy child behind, we're going to have this major problem where even if when a woman is empowered and then there is a man there seeing the empowered woman, the way they're going to react over that is going to be very different, because they're not even mentally prepared to be on the same table with a woman. Exactly. You're there maybe on an executive board and there is just one woman, and she might probably even be dismissed. That now she has a seat on the table, but she doesn't really have a voice.
Exactly.
So how can we bridge the gap between the men and the women? Few ways that we could do that to just make sure that we are on this journey together, because we need to be together in this journey.
One thing that I can say is to look at the role models. You talk to them. How did they manage? Yeah? How did they manage? If they can give you some of the things that they went through, maybe training or experience sharing, whatever. That would be one way. But another way is amongst yourselves, you know, just having conversations outside the working environment.
Yeah.
You just have your own conversations. I have this, you have that. How can we together do this so that we come around this problem? And another thing I think is for you to make sure that your newsrooms have rules and regulations and policies that can bear with your problems. That way, when you go to report, you have something that you go with. But when there are no policies, no rules and regulations, it's very difficult. Yeah. And you must demand for these policies to be there in the newsrooms, because if you don't demand, they will never be there. Yeah. But demanding also, making sure that there is an understanding with the people who are at the level of decision.
So when we talk about women in the newsroom, as you said before, there are not many of them, but the number now has at least increased. We have a lot of women who are interested in entering into the media, or they're already there into the media. But then we still have this problem of women in leadership. So there might be a lot of women now in the newsroom, but then how many of them make it to becoming the MD? How many of them make it to become on the decision board? So how can we empower a woman, or even ensure that women at least get these decision making positions? Or how can we as women now say, okay, now we want to take these positions, what can we do in order to compete with the men? Why should the men always be the ones that have to make all the decision? I believe you have been in a top management role. Yeah. Yeah. So you know the power of a woman when she's there. She can make a big difference. How can we ensure that we can bring in more women on those levels?
I believe now you have more women in the newsrooms who are editors. Yeah.
Yes.
But maybe you need more women, you know, to be media managers. Yeah. Yeah. One thing is really to work hard. Yeah. Work hard, follow the rules, train as much as you can. Now I think you have an organization, I understand, it's called WIN, Women in News. Yeah. That one is very good. I realized that when I was working as executive director of TAMWA, yes, this WIN came, you know, through me actually, and I decided that it should be something that will make a great difference to a lot of women in Tanzania. So one of us became the manager, and I think she's doing very well, Dr. Joyce Bazira. Okay. And a lot of women also have gone through this WIN, and more participating. This is also one thing that can make us go up the ladder. But another one is to be courageous and do articles, features, programs that are out of the ordinary, because we can do it. You know, as women, I believe we are very creative. Yeah. And we see a lot of things through our gender eyes. Yeah. And we do not want all the things that are to do with women to be done by men. It is good if we ourselves do them. Yeah? So do them well. Do them so that you can even participate in what are they called? CNN what? Competitions. Apart from EJAT only, that is local, but also international competitions. Yes. but do things out of the ordinary, because we can do, I believe we can do it.
There are many stories to tell.
Exactly, exactly. And you see a lot of people outside Tanzania will say, well, we see the animals, we see the birds, we see flora and fauna from Tanzania, but we don't hear the stories of Tanzania. Where are the stories? So it is the women to look for these stories, because they are there, plenty of them. And you know, you formulate them in such a way that, you know, when it goes outside the country, it makes, you know, a difference. Yeah. It is something that people say, wow, how did this happen? How did this woman look for this story? How did she make it? How did she, you know, realize that this could be such a big story? Yeah. So let's leave out the ordinary stories, the reactive stories. You know, a lot of the stories are very reactive. Yeah. Let's be proactive, because we can do proactive stories. And these are the stories done with a lot of hard work, where you select your items well, you do the good editing, you write the good script, and you know, formulate your stories. These are the things that will make you different from the usual and the ordinary person who has ever done this.
Yeah, that's quite true.
I believe so.
So let's talk about this last, but it's one of my favorite topics, and that is mentorship. Mm-hmm. So did you have mentors along your way as you were working in the newsroom, since you began until you came and retired? And who were your mentors? And are you mentoring other young girls as well?
Okay, I had a lot of mentors. A lot of mentors. Some of them were, or maybe to begin with, were the women who were there. As I joined, the women were, we had Hadija, we had Violet Maro, we had Deborah Mwenda. These are the women that I found there, and you know, they taught me a lot, because we had, RTD had a specific schedule that when you join, you have to work for three months on training, on the job training. So these are the people who are training me. Yeah. So I started with them. These are my mentors. But later on, I got mentors from Deutsche Welle. Yeah? You know Deutsche Welle?
Yes.
This woman called Barbara Skerrat. Of course, she's no longer there. She has long retired. She used to listen to some of the programs that I used to make, because I used to do a lot of women's programs. Yeah. On and after Tama's foundation. So she asked me to do programs or make items specific for Deutsche Welle, because Deutsche Welle had a transcription service program. In this transcription service, people used to send articles or snippets, you know, about women to Deutsche Welle, and she would put them together and then distribute to other English radio stations across Africa. So she found my programs were very interesting. She invited me over to Deutsche Welle. I think about 3 times I went there. And she taught me a lot about doing good programs, editing, doing interviews. So I learned a lot from her. She is also my mentor. Later on, of course, as I went through the ladder, I had to mentor my younger colleagues with whom I worked, and you know, they are doing very well. And I see them today and I say, wow, I played a part there. Yeah. But later on, when I joined School of Journalism and Mass Comm, which is under the University of Dar es Salaam, I worked there for 5 years. and there were lots of women and men with whom I exchanged ideas. Actually, one of them even got interested in writing a book. There is a whole book about, you know, a lot of us who worked in those days. He was very much interested to the extent that I gave him the sources, go to this one, go to that one, ask this one, and a book is there. So I'm proud that, you know, he consulted me and I helped him to sort of put the book together. But apart from that, I must say, I have done a lot of mentoring to quite a few FM radio stations. Quite a few. Most notable, I must say, is Sengerema FM. But I also went to Bomangombe, I think it is, somewhere near Kilimanjaro there. I did a lot also with the clubs, press clubs, Shinyanga, Mwanza. So I've done a lot of mentoring for a lot of people, apart from the fact that also when I was with Radio Tanzania, I was given, I think, 2 years full-time teaching at the School of Journalism. Yeah. By then it was at Ilala there. It was called the Tanzania School of Journalism. So a lot of them now have very big positions, you know, elsewhere. So I believe I have done my part. I have given them my skills. I've given them what it takes or what it makes a good broadcaster. And about the media itself, how strong, you know, it is and how helpful it is to the whole development concept of a country like Tanzania. So I'm proud to say I have quite a few mentees, but I also have a lot of mentors who have groomed me to be who I am today.
Yeah, so I would like to thank you a lot for the contribution that you have done in the media industry. I believe we are here today because of people like you, people who had the courage, had the drive to make a change. Maybe even today we have these opportunities as women in the newsroom because of people who dared to say, okay, we need to have more women, we need to have leadership roles, we need to have opportunities. Now today there are many opportunities for women in the newsroom because of people like you. So thank you so much for the contribution. You deserve a lifetime award in the media industry.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And I'd just like to say that women like this and powerful stories like this are very much important. That is why the Citizen Rising Woman is aiming at inspiring and bringing out these stories for you to see and to be inspired about what women have been doing to make changes in our society. On March 8th, we'll be having our special event, the Citizen Rising Woman Initiative. So don't go anywhere. Keep making follow-ups on our social medias, but also on our newspaper, The Citizen, to be able to attend our event. I was the Panda here hosting Miss Eda Sanga from here in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. Thank you. Let's meet next time.